After almost 30 years of war and the reign of terror by the Red Khmer, Cambodia is one of the poorest countries in the world. Malaria, dengue fever, and typhus are widely spread. In 1989, along with the arrival of the UN peacekeeping forces, the new killer came into the country, AIDS. The World Health Organization reckons with 1 million infected persons by 2010. Sunday in the capital, Phnom Penh. As every morning, Buddhist monks collect alms. The Catholic priest Matthysse came to Cambodia 6 years ago. At first, the American worked with street children and brought relief goods to the Vietnamese fishing villages on the Mekong River. From his own experience, he knew how war and poverty promote the spreading of AIDS.
I don't know that I have guilt from what I personally did, because I was a medic in Vietnam. But I certainly had guilt for what my country did to the Asian people, and that included Vietnam and Cambodia, because Cambodia fell as a result of of the Vietnam War. So I certainly had guilt feelings, or felt that I owed something to the Asian people.
Their faith is not the only thing that Wayne and nurse Teresa Hudler share. For the past 3 years, they've been working together in the relief organization Partners in Compassion. It is the first time that Christians and Buddhists treat AIDS patients.
I look at the people and realize that no matter what I do, it's not enough. And that's when I long to go back to the States to see my friends and my family and get a different perspective. But then I look at the people again and realize that if I go back, who will be taking care of them?
There are 3,200 Buddhist monasteries in Cambodia. Wat Opod is one of them. The name means surrounded by lakes. In 1998, the religious community of Takeo province donated a piece of land next to the monastery. The AIDS Center of Partners in Compassion, with its hospital ward and nursing home, was developed here. The monk Teuchert became the AIDS representative. He and Wayne and Teresa treat sick children, men and women.
Hot iron. Kadao. Maybe I'll turn the generator. Hot kadao.
Vitamin.
People from the surrounding villages are also looked after free of charge. The relief organization thus gained the confidence of the country population.
When Wayne came to Wat Opod, the village elder said to me, "He's a Christian. That is not good for our temple."
The AIDS Center of Wat Opod at the foot of the holy mountain Phnom Penh is surrounded by 4 villages. Nearly all 420 families make their living with farming. In the dry season from November till May, there is little to do and food becomes scarce. Young men and women leave home to work in the capital. The elder villagers believe that the UN soldiers brought the virus to Cambodia. When a hospital ward was set up here, I had no objection. But some of the villagers were against it because they were afraid they might become infected.
Those who know about the disease are not afraid of becoming infected. It spreads through sexual intercourse, and not if you talk and work with people.
It's good that the organization built this center. It not only helps the patients, but also improves the quality of life for the people here. In 1975, the Red Khmer transformed temples into pigsties. In 1980, Buddhism again became the state religion, and the more than 80,000 monks are held in highest regard. Only they seem to be in a position to prevent the sick from being excluded from society. But many Buddhists believe that the AIDS infection is a punishment for sins committed in a previous life. Until now, AIDS victims can only seek refuge in 2 pagodas, One of them is Wat Opod.
At the Wat, we have become a center where people can feel comfortable about their aids in the villages and stuff. They are often harassed and made fun of, but at the Wat they are treated with respect, and we have a good time there.
24-year-old Supone came here half a year ago with her 3-year-old son McFan. Both have AIDS. Supone's family nearly let her starve. Wayne gave her a new home in Wat Opod. I was no longer happy in my village. People were hostile towards me and wouldn't even sell me cookies. My relatives didn't eat what I cooked for them, and when I fetched water, they wouldn't drink it. Even if they're not infected, the more than 55,000 orphans in Cambodia are treated like lepers. Most of them are not admitted to schools. They can find shelter in Wat Opod. Shelter until they die.
This is just a picture of Chia. He was one of the first children that we worked with here. He was a fighter. He was top of his class, and when school came around the next year, he asked me 2 weeks in advance for the uniform, everything, and we got it for him, but then the day of school he died. And so he kind of became one of the children that we decided it's worth for us to send kids to school.
More than 80 relief organizations are registered in Phnom Penh. The 4 orphanages of Maryknoll have a model function. 60-year-old John Tucker is the project leader for the 51 children of all age groups. Until a few years ago, he was a business consultant in Texas. He became rich but not happy. Together with his wife Kathy, he decided to change his life and bring happiness to others. Tucker's orphans have AIDS, but still they are lucky. Every morning and evening, they are served a medicine cocktail. The Khmer call it wonder drug, the doctors antiretroviral therapy. Thanks to this medicine, the Maryknoll children have an almost normal life expectancy. They take it under strict supervision because every irregularity can prove fatal. The organization Doctors Without Borders provides the medical know-how. $45 a month are needed to treat a sick child.
They have to have follow-up blood tests to make sure that their liver functions and their basic blood work is maintaining, because there are some side effects to this medicine and we have to monitor it fairly closely. We have about 109 children now that live at home with their grandparents or their aunt. This is Ingrata. Ingrata, Poman Chanam Howie. Dop Chanam? Poman Chanam. Dop, he's 10 years old. He came to us last year. He was very, very sick and very thin. We started him on the antiretroviral medicine, and he had a reoccurrence of tuberculosis. We had to stop the antiretrovirals for a short time. The tuberculosis medicine was finished. We restarted him. He's gained weight. His lungs are clear. He's going to school, and tomorrow he's going to get a bicycle. I keep forgetting to buy the bicycle. They take very good care of him, and he's not discriminated against.
For those children that get better and get healthy and are able to go to school and ride bicycles and do those things, it's very rewarding. We had a child die this morning, so when those times happen, it's very difficult.
Out of ignorance, many of the sick put their fate into the hands of indigenous healers, the so-called Khmer. Many pawn all their belongings because the Khu promised to cure AIDS victims. The healer Ismael treats the sick with tea made from tree bark and herb powders.
My medicine helps only against secondary symptoms, such as itching. I travel to far-off provinces to look for the proper ingredients.
His organization, Hope for Persons Living with HIV/AIDS, treats patients for free. Ismail is himself in charge of distributing his medicine in the slums of Phnom Penh and stays to check the effectiveness of his cocktail.
Before drinking this tea, I was too thin and had to stay in bed. When I took the medicine, I soon felt better and started to eat and became stronger. It can't cure AIDS, but it helps against diarrhea and fungal infections.
A crematorium is being built in Wat Opod. The director of the National AIDS Authority surveys the construction. Dr. Tia Pola clearly remembers the first case of AIDS in 1991. Since then, more than 80,000 Khmer have died.
She cannot recover and then feed the children and then send children properly to school. So ARTE is another solution.
You don't want to be in a position to choose. This one yes, this one no. You know, that's very difficult to make that decision. So, but we will be working with Medicines to Frontier and sending our patients there.
Yeah, because countrywide we may have like 20,000, you know, of AIDS patients like this.
The hospice in Wat Opod opened in 2002. Since then, it has provided shelter for 37 AIDS victims. Kong, age 28, is a former soldier. He will die soon.
A neighbor brought me here. Her daughter and grandchild had AIDS. I was told there was no hope for me. I do regret what happened, but there's not a thing I can do about it now. I often went to see prostitutes, but I never used a condom.
"10 rivers are not enough to fill an ocean," as a Khmer saying goes. Many men go to a brothel 5 times a week. About 5,000 prostitutes work in Phnom Penh's district of Teuchert. Street workers from the Cambodian Prostitutes Union visit one of the brothels. Their union is supported by Terre des Hommes, Germany. Hello. Did you earn any money yet? Not very much. The street workers used to be prostitutes themselves. They know all about child prostitution and forced prostitution, and also that they will not reach anywhere near all the girls. The lessons focus on hygiene, contraception, and the correct use of condoms. But even if the sex workers have understood all this, they still have to convince their customers. You can always come to get condoms. We have enough. So just come by. Especially men in their late 30s and in their 40s don't want to use condoms. They say they don't get full pleasure if they wear one. I tell them a $5 tip won't cure the disease. With the help of television, condoms will hopefully become more popular. The organization PSI sells 1.5 million condoms a month. The 12-episode TV series Punishment of Love is being produced by marketing director Dr. Matthysse and his team. Education is mixed with entertainment.
We also produce a talk show, which is broadcast at the end of the series episode. It is conceived as a forum for experts on AIDS to explain our message to the audience.
In this episode, Dr. Tia Pola meets with the Minister for Women's Affairs, Mu Suchua. She knows what she's talking about. Her niece died of AIDS in her arms 3 years ago. That's when Musu Chua started her personal battle. Our society is changing. We women must forget our sense of shame and our submissiveness. We must tell men what we want and use condoms during intercourse. Next morning, an information ship sails along the Tonle Sap River. The relief organization Action IEC tours Cambodia's northwest, from Phnom Penh all the way to Angkor, with 50 artists and assistants. The Belgian movie maker Cedric Jean-Claude and his partner Cheng Deravut Kozal provide anti-AIDS information in areas that have no television yet.
For me, the mobile show is important in the sense that it will answer the needs of the people, not necessarily their educational needs, simply their human needs. They need entertainment. They need to be happy sometimes.
May one have sexual intercourse if one is infected with AIDS?
If we have AIDS, we may not have sexual intercourse. And if we do, then only with a condom. Before dawn, the monks in Wat Opod sing for Buddha. The chanting is a group ritual practiced in every temple. In the 60s, Wat Opod used to be a spiritual center. Only 7 monks live there these days. Tel is the only one with experience abroad. In 2001, UNICEF flew him to Africa in order to broaden his knowledge about AIDS.
Buddha says nothing about diseases like AIDS, but he says we must show pity, compassion and sympathy to all living creatures, especially if they're in need and have trouble with their health.
Every week, Wat Opod's home care team sets out to distant villages to deliver medicine and food and a little money to 15 households that have been affected by the epidemic. When her husband died, his widow Aun lost everything. The monk's visit sends a signal against ostracizing families affected by AIDS. They convey Buddha's teachings, invite the strong to assist the weak. I hope the organization will support my children in the future. Right now, I don't know whom to rely on. My house is in a pitiful state. There's not enough rice for a meal, and there is no rice field where we could work to earn some money. In Cambodia, being a woman means cooking, sewing, manual work, and obeying your husband.
have a great deal of respect for the women who take care of their husbands up to their death and sometimes even sell all that they have, their land, their homes, whatever possessions they have, sell it all to take care of their husband, and then he dies. And she's left with a whole lot of debt and several children to take care of. And yet she keeps going.
The Cambodian Women Crisis Center makes a new life possible for victims of domestic violence. 24-year-old Rexmi is a resident of the confidential shelter in Phnom Penh. Her husband not only infected her with AIDS, but also poured acid all over her. It is terrible to have nothing to do. I want work that is well enough paid so that I can support myself. Here I don't have to pay for food and lodging, but I must think of how I can survive in the future.
To me, economic empowerment of women is not just a skill for the sake of having a skill. If the product that she makes does not end up in a market, is not compatible with other products, she ends up making lives even more miserable for herself because she ends up sewing, weaving, sometimes 10 hours a day.
Mary Knowles Patches program is the only self-supporting AIDS project in Cambodia. In the outskirts of Phnom Penh, 60 HIV-infected women sew patchwork quilts, which will be sold in the United States. Seamstress Sophia thinks the work conditions are perfect. People who are infected with AIDS ought to stick together. We feel like sisters. If we were to fight, we would feel even weaker. Project leader Kathy Tucker pays her employees $15 a week. That's about as much as a policeman makes in a month. But even this kind of money is not enough to finance a life-prolonging therapy.
When one of our girls or men gets sick, we follow them through the illness. And when they die at the end, we all go, all the sewers as a family, to the Wat.
The last Thursday of the month belongs to the orphans. The first children arrive at Wat Opod between 7 and 8 a.m. Many come from distant villages and take a 35-mile trip by motorbike taxi. They've been looking forward to this event, as have the partners in Compassion. Every child is registered while cooks prepare the meal. The more than 50 girls and boys can look forward to a varied morning program. Dancing, lessons, handicrafts. For a few hours, they are quite normal children. Sometime in the future, Wayne wants to build them a house of their own. Tel dreams of a park where he can teach meditation, and Teresa would like to train girls to become nurses. When the partners in Compassion talk about their plans, one wishes that they may be realized soon.
Not everything is depressing here. There are a lot of good things happening as well. And so that's why I wanted to show that there are with all the sadness and the death, there is also hope for the children whose parents have died, and through education, again, they will have a better chance in the future.